All right, so this is going to be the first of the 2 videos you have to do if you failed the project or did not do the project at all. There are examples that I will not be working out in this video that you are responsible for doing on your own to receive full credit. So this first video is all about solving equations, and we're going to start in this first box with one-step equations. One-step equations are just like their name says, and it takes 1 step to solve. So remember, when we are solving equations, we want to get the variable by itself. We only want one of it on one side and everything else on the other. So when I look at this side of m plus 4 equals negative 12, on the left side I have m and plus 4. So I need to actually move this plus 4 to the other side to get it away. In order to do that, we have to do the opposite. So instead of a plus 4, I'm going to do a minus 4 on the left side. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. And so right here, this plus 4, this minus 4 cancels out completely. And that's exactly what you wanted. So what's left over on that side, though, is that m still, and it's equal to, we now have to do this minus 12 minus 4, and negative 12 minus 4 gives me a negative 16. Before you decide if you're done, we need to look at what our answer says. This says that m is equal to negative 16, so 1m. Whenever you have that, you just have the variable by itself, equals a number, you're done, you don't have to do anything else. So you are responsible for doing example 2, example 3, and example 4 on your own to get full credit. So again, just like one-step equations, we're moving on to two-step equations where the name tells you how many steps you're going to do. Our end goal here is we want to get this x all by itself. I don't want anything touching it, anything next to it, left or right of it. It has to be just one x. So I'm going to take this plus 1 and I'm going to move it to the other side. So I'm going to do the opposite and I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. It does cancel out here and I'm left with negative 9x. We didn't do anything with the negative 9, so it does have to still come down. And it's equal to, I have negative 80 minus 1, which gives me a negative 81. At this step, I have negative 9x equals negative 81, and it's not 1x, so I'm not done. I do have to see what else is still either touching the x, next to it, whatever. And it does have this negative 9 touching it. They're stuck together by multiplication. So we're going to divide the left side by negative 9 to cancel that out. And I have to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to divide negative 81 by negative 9. So I end up with x equals a positive 9. Again, you have 3 examples to do on your own. Example 2, example 3, and example 4. This back page is dealing with multi-step equations, and that just means that there's a different amount of steps. It's not a 1-step. It's not necessarily a 2-step. There are going to be different numbers of steps in each of these problems. The first set that we're actually dealing with are fractions. The first thing I need to do is get rid of the fraction. And all a fraction is division. So I'm actually going to do the opposite, and I'm going to multiply both sides by whatever the bottom of the fraction is. So I'm going to multiply the left side by 5, and I'm going to do the same exact thing on the right side. When I do that on the left side, all it does is cancel out the fraction and leaves me with whatever was on top. So 2x plus 3, and it's equal to 1 times 5, which gives me 5. Now this looks like a problem that we just did on the other side, so I'm going to start solving. I want to get that x by itself. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, cancels out, and I'm left with 2x equals 5 minus 3 gives me 2. And then my last step, that 2x is stuck together by multiplication. So I'm dividing both steps by 2, so x is equal to 1. Again, you do have these 3 fraction ones to do on your own. Now this last step is still multi-step equations, but this is when we have letters on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead through example 1, and I always want to check both sides to make sure I can't combine any like terms. So when I look at this left side, I have 3n and I have 15. They don't both have n, so I can't combine them together anymore. So I'm just going to rewrite it as 3n minus 15 is equal to, but when I look at the right side, I have 7n plus n. I have 7 of something, and I'm going to add 1 of them to that. So that means that I now have 8n. I'm going to start moving stuff because I want all the letters on one side and the numbers on the other. I always move the smallest letter because that keeps it positive. So I'm going to take this 3n and move it to the other side. I still do the opposite though. So on the left side, it's positive, which means I'm going to subtract 3n from both sides. So this cancels out here. I'm left with a negative 15 still is equal to 8n minus 3n, or 8 minus 3 leaves me with 5n. That 5n is stuck together, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5. So I have n equals negative 3. Negative 3 equals n is the exact same thing as n equals negative 3. So if you need to rewrite it, you can, but they do mean the same thing. So again, you do have 3 to try on your own. So for this video, there are 12 problems for you to do on your own to get full credit for this first video. Remember, there are 2 videos you have to do total.